Hey everyone, today in this video, you'll be learning about how to solve linear systems of equations, or in other words, how to find where two lines intersect on a graph. Generally, there are really only three methods to solving these types of questions, of which being one, look at it on the graph, two, the substitution method, and the third, the elimination method. So first, let's take a look at a basic graph and see what we can do. If we look at these two straight lines, we can already tell at the point where they cross at the coordinate 2, 8. And just by doing that, you just solve the systems of linear equation question. This find on the graph method is really just the most basic of the three methods to use, but it obviously has its downsides where you actually have to draw a graph, and that's going to cause problems if the intercept point isn't a nice whole number. But that can be easily solved too if you use an algebraic method, which leads me to my second point, substitution. Essentially in substitution, you either isolate the x or y variables of one of the equations, then you substitute the equivalent value into the other equation to then solve it. For example, we have two equations here, 2y equals x plus 3 and x plus 2y equals 5. Also, let's name them both equation 1 and equation 2. If we choose to isolate the y variable of equation 1, first we divide both sides by 2 to move it over, and now that y is by itself, we can move on to step 2, substitution. Since in equation 1, y is equal to x divided by 2 plus 3 divided by 2, then that means we can replace y in equation 2 with the equivalent value, which allows us to solve for x. Oh yeah, and one thing you need to remember is that a variable such as y or x always has a coefficient in front of it. So essentially that means y is 1 times y, and 2x is 2 times x. So when you substitute, make sure to put brackets around whatever you're replacing the variable with, because if not, then you're going to mess everything up. So going back to the original question, we now multiply the equation out of the brackets, so 2 times x divided by 2 is x, and 2 multiplied by 3 divided by 2 is 3. After that, what we're left with is 2x plus 3 equals 5, and the last step now is just to solve for x, which is our x-coordinate of the point. So now what we gotta do is minus 3 on both sides, then divide by 2, which leaves us with x equals 1. With this we know the x-coordinate of the intercept point is 1, and if we substitute this x for 1 in either equation 1 or 2, that will leave us with the y-coordinate. So now let's plug in 1 in the first equation, so we will get 2x equals 1 plus 3, and by solving, you will find that the solution is y equals 2. This means that the intercept point between these two lines is 1, 2. So, the second method that we're going to be doing in this video is elimination. And since you already know how to do substitution, you already know half of elimination. So essentially what happens in elimination is you choose one of the two variables, x or y, make them opposite, so when you add them up together and eliminate them from the equation, you are left with one variable. Let's try this with another question then. In this equation we have y equals x plus 1 and y equals 2x minus 3. Generally, when you're using the elimination method, you typically want your y-intercept only on one side of the equation. So if we subtract x from both sides of equation 1, and on the other equation subtract 2x, we're left with y minus x equals 1 and y equals 2x minus 3. So now we just add them up, right? Nope. Because they're not opposites, and they won't cancel each other out. So in this equation, let's first choose to isolate y. In order to make negative x and negative 2x cancel each other out, we have to multiply the first equation by negative 2. With that, we will get negative 2y plus 2x equals negative 2, and y minus 2x equals negative 3, which is perfect for canceling. When we add them up, what we are left with is negative y equals negative 5, or in other words, y equals 5. And with that, we're able to substitute 5 into one of the other equations, isolate x, and there's our solution for x. This means the point where these two lines intercept is at 4, 5. And with that, thanks for watching my video on how to solve systems of linear equations by looking at it on a graph, the substitution method, and the elimination method. Peace.